So we are going to be Mispalel today, which is, we're in the very, very significant week. It's the week of Parshas Shkolim, where we are already on our way. And that was the last past Shabbos. Now we are on our way to Rosh Chodesh Adar, which is upon us. So we're in that time period where we're entered the season of real Geulat Yisrael. Well, we really entered it on Tu B'Shvat, but in other words, it's 60 days from Tu B'Shvat to the Seder, and that's a 2-month period of greater and greater Yeshuot for Klal Yisrael. Right. So that's what we want. In that sense, we want to daven for Devora Bluma Bas Devora Kreindel, for Besuros Tovos, and for our Refuah Shalema. So she said it's an important day. Okay, and for all Klal Yisrael. So I'm going to ask us several questions. Let's begin with Parshas Shkolim. Parshas Shkolim is read.
Excuse me, Rabbi. The past Shabbos.
Yeah, this Parshas past Shabbos. We're now in between. We're right in between Parshas Shkolim. And we're still in the week of Shkolim until Tuesday night, because we didn't make Havdalah yet. So, and then we go right into Rosh Chodesh Adar. So we're in that very unique time period. What is that all about? Why is Shkolim so critical to the onset of Adar? Well, we know that the Mishnayos in Shkolim, it's a whole Masechet of Mishnayos. Okay, it teaches us that Be'echad Be'adar Mashmim al Hashkolim. We need to collect from all of Klal Yisrael their machazis hashekel, their half shekel annual contribution to what? To the karbonos of Klal Yisrael. Now, the truth is that they would put these shkolim into 3 different receptacles when they were ready to take from it to pay for the karbonos. And the remainders went for various things. So, and there's a big machloket among the Tanaim, what leftovers from what shkolim go where, or leftovers from various monies that were dedicated to karbonos. But essentially, they are made to either pay for the karbonos, pay for the ketores, pay for the breads that needed to be made, and also structural things, including the highest of the high, the Kodesh Kadashim, which was, very interestingly, completely gold-plated. Completely gold-plated.
What was gold-plated?
The Kodesh Kadashim, completely gold-plated. And, gold is a wonderful conductor of electricity, you know that. And the electricity coming from the Aron Kodesh is not anything that we can fathom. It's a real energy. Real energy. What?
I didn't know that about gold.
Oh yeah. They make little wires that conduct gold very, very well. Maybe that's one of the reasons why gold is so prized, is because it's associated with tremendous light and energy. Including in English, what do you call raw metal taken out of the ground? Ore. Mamish ore. It's like light. Okay?
Yes.
And of course, it's the color of the sun, which is the makar of light. We don't lose those. Obviously, Hashem created the world. Gold, we say it's a golden sun. Or a red sun, right? But red is another form of gold. There's 2 types of gold that we speak about. There's the base of Mikdash, there could be red gold, there could be lighter gold. And red is also damim, which is another name for money.
Lemon gold?
What's that?
There's lemon gold?
Money, which is connoting blood, like a blood red. Blood red to a gold is a...
Red gold is one thing. There's a lemon gold.
Lemon gold. Okay, fine. I didn't realize that. Wow. So those are the range of colors. So there's the power source of the world is the Kodesh Kodashim. The shekalim, which are silver, are, if they pay for all the karbonos and pay for everything else, they will be upgraded to include the rikiye, the covering panels, the gold panels of inside the Kodesh Kodesh. And of course we know money makes the world go round. And it's a lot easier, even though gold is interestingly and historically, and however it should be that way today, the gold standard always was behind any paper money. So humankind understands, for some reason, we're programmed that gold equals money. So it's a little bit unusual. Why couldn't copper equal money? And silver is called kesef, so it's a secondary form of ore, right? But it's a smaller ore. It's a, zahav, the kesef, and the nechoshes. Those are the three levels of coinage or metallic values that the Torah has. Three, always three. Highest is zahav, middle is kesef, and the bottom is nechoshes. Now, what was made out of nechoshes?
Nechoshes
Is copper. What was made out of nechoshes? And it sounds like it anyway.
Sing.
The nachash. The nachash nechoshes that Moshe Rabbeinu made to heal Klal Yisrael, right, from their lack of emunah. They were bitten up by snakes. And of course the snake is who? Who's the nachash? The nachash is the nachash haikadmoni, which is the Yetzer Hara, the Malach HaMaves. So we have three figures. It would make sense that they represent the three figures of Gan Eden. Zahav, the Kesef, and the Nechoshes. If we could get it all straightened out and have it all in the service of Hashem, we would have a Mishkan, and we would have a Kodesh Kodashim, and we would have, instead of an Egel Azov, we would have a Aron Shel Zahav. So who is gold and who is silver? What do you think? Is Adam the gold and Chava the silver, or the other way around? And can you bring me a proof, one way or the other? On that note, I'll make a bracha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shakol niyah b'kavod.
Amen.
Okay.
Couldn't they both be a little bit of each?
A combination of
Kesef and Zah?
Well, like I said,
But
it takes
she
the
would take the
silver
voice.
is leads to the zahav. In fact, always throughout the Mishnah, we speak about a dinar. The coin in the Mishnah, in the language of the Mishnah, could be a shekel, could be a dinar, could be a revis. There's dinar zahav and dinar shel kesef, usually. Okay?
You asked a question before.
Oh, there's different calculations of the values. I think it's a 1 to 4, basically.
But you asked a question whether Adam was...
25. I don't want to misquote. It depends which coin you're talking about. It depends whether it's the old coins or the shkalim that were later in the time of the rabbis enlarged. It's actually very fascinating that when the Jews came up from Golos, they only had Persian coins. So they would use those to contribute their matzahs Hashem. And then as time went on, they changed to more local, valuable coins, and it became shkalim again. So it's always a path upward. Okay, so silver leads upward. Now, the word for silver is what? Let's think about it.
Kesef.
Kesef. Where is the word kesef used? In what context does kisufim? What are kisufim?
magic.
No, that could be kishufim.
Kishufim.
Which is, by the way, not far away. You're not that far off. What do I say? I have kisufim. Kisufim is a yearning. It's a heart. It's a feeling from the heart, right? Okay. So I would suggest, therefore, it's Keneged Chava, because her essential thing is that she has this great love in her heart, Kisufim, that she can therefore bestow it on her husband, her help, who she is the helpmate, who she is the guide, or the spiritual guide. That's how I look at wives. Wives are spiritual guides for their husbands, so they don't get lost in life. And women usually tell them how they're wrong, why they're wrong. And if the men are smart enough to listen, then they'll be on the right track. Okay. Zahav is reminiscent of the male role. Again, male and female is relevant. You understand what I'm saying? There are more forces than genders 100%, although not. It's what I'm saying. It's not the simple gender. Don't get me wrong. Zehav. What does that mean in Yiddish? In Hebrew or Aramaic?
Love.
This one, hav.
Yes.
Gave, love. Gave. The word for ahava is also hav, giving. The role of Adam is to give. To give love. Like we had in this week's parsha. If a man marries a woman, he has 3 obligations, which it says in this past week's parsha.
Kasusa.
She'er, ksus, the ona. Notice ksus is close to kasef. Kasef. I'll get to that in 1 second. Why? Because he has to provide 3 things for his wife. She'er, which means everything she needs for her nourishment, right? In other words, she has to be sustained physically, whatever she needs to physically sustain herself. Ksus, which means appropriate clothing. And ona means a deep, loving relation. It means to give love. And love is more than a check. You know, write her out a check or throw a few bucks into her bank account. I'm sure she appreciate that very, very much. But, you know, and I'm talking obviously in the day where we weren't so close to the Gula and things weren't so, how shall I say, leveling out.
Does it matter that silver tarnishes and gold doesn't?
Sure it does, because the whole
The
point
man
is that it needs
tarnishes?
to be polished, it needs to be loved. You let it go, it won't shine. It'll be very dark, very dark. It's constant polishing, where the husband says, I said I loved you 10 years ago. Nothing's changed, until further notice. If I tell you I changed, I'll change. No. Every day, maybe many times a day, but certainly over the course of the week, you have to make sure that it's polished up good. Good. So zahav, kesef, nechoshes. She'er, ksus, va'ona. She'er is, again, physical wellness. That's what the body needs. 2, the ksus is what? It's the dignity, the human dignity, because it's clothing. I mean, the body doesn't need more than a shemata to wear, but kol kvoda shel isha pnima, it is her tznius, her pnimius, her regal, her, you know, vatilvash Esther malchus. She dressed herself up in the royal garb. And we speak about big day kahuna. There's such a thing as the begadim. As they say, the clothes makes the man or the woman. There is something to that. The Gemara says that one of the Amorim used to say that my clothes are called mechubadai. They're the ones that give me kavod. Because without the rabbinic garb, no one will know that he's different than anybody else. And finally, ono means you have to be in love. And if you're not willing to give love and attention, then don't be married, then don't get married. Don't bother. Don't bother. There's no point. Okay, now wait. Zehav is constant, much like what is constant. The sun is constant. What is not constant? The moon, the kisufim, which needs, so constantly renewing and growing, is going on a growth cycle, continually renewing, replenishing. Okay?
But yet the Jews are
The Jews are called Piet Levana, right? And then you might say also, it's Keneged Kohen, Levi, Yisrael. In other words, that there are 3 levels among the Jewish people. Each one plays its own unique role. The Zahav represents the Kohanim, Leviim, which are there to shine the ore of Torah constantly onto Klal Yisrael. They are the inner sanctum. They are the Kodesh Kodashim. They better be Zehav. They better be Kulo Zav. And we know that each one of the Kalim, we speak about here in Parshas Truma, so had a gold covering, a wood box inside and a gold covering outside for the Aron, right? Because you have to be Toho Kevaro. So when it comes to the outer world, you are constantly giving, constantly. Your inner world, you don't have to be constantly taking. You can suffice with a more modest wooden box or Perhaps it's a reference to Eitz Chayim, the Eitz Hadas, the Eitz Chayim. But outwardly, you're shining, silver, pure. You have to be pure. You have to be holy. You want to get into that inner sanctum. Further, and by the way, all the gold kalim, which is the shulchan, menorah, and the mizbeach haketoras are also gold, and they're also in that chamber just outside the kodesh kodashim. So that really represents what you might say is the kohanim and the leviim, and then the outer courtyard where there's mizbeach is the nechoshes. Nechoshes means that it's like the nachash. And the nachash is the concept of service. Service.
Service?
Service. The nachash was a service animal. Like you could take it on a plane. It let you service pets. Try to be your service snake on the plane. In those days, by Adam Rishon, the nachash was his servant. And with great wisdom was able to collect, it says, gold and silver and precious jewels. Was a cunning human being like.
This is before the Chet,
Before the fact.
which is just a few hours, but not to nights to get out a few hours.
Yeah, and we all went down. We all fall down. That's what happened. And now we're getting up. But Nachash and Nechoshes. Nachash is service. That's why the Mizbeach, where you bring the actual karbanos, is outside. And what is it made out of? Nechoshes. You can't make it as I guess you could make a gold Mizbeach if you wanted to, but it's not allowed. Not allowed. It has to be copper. Nechosh means reserving Hashem. So what does that mean? That the Hamon Am of Klal Yisrael, the every Jew and Jewess, right? Their job is to do avodah, to serve Hashem, lahalel ulahodos, and also to do tshuva if we're not doing our job. That's what the Mizbeach is for. It clears up any inconsistency, any chet, where we have strayed from the service of Hashem. So we go to the Mizbeach and we cleanse ourselves and we say, we're back in business, we're back here to serve you. And that's why it was so important to give a machzis ha-shekel, because you have to buy in to that service. If not, it's not a service. What, if the Kohanim and Leviim are going to go bring karbanos and say to Klal Yisrael, you stay home, that misses the whole point. It's a trifecta. In fact, the Shkalim, in Mishnayos Shkalim, we have Mishnayos that speak about interesting things. Let's say a city would get together. They said just like they had aronos to collect the coins in the Beis HaMikdash, they had in every city.
Oh.
And then the people in the city would collect all their coins and send it with a shaliach to the Beis HaMikdash and pay their, let's say, their dues, their shkalim. What happens if he got robbed on the way?
Run.
Right? So it depends. If they torei min mizbeach, they took out the allocation of coins, which has to be done for everybody, right? Then we assume that the coins are considered part of, depends whether the tumor was first, I don't want to misquote the Mishnah, but the bottom line is it's either the people's or it's the Kohanim's, depending on whether they took the truma or not. Why? Because the truma has to be covering everybody. Everybody has that part. Okay. Now that is really.
You didn't answer. So what happens if it was robbed?
It depends when it was robbed. If it was robbed after they took the truma, then we say it counted because it was in the hands of the agent of the Beis HaMikdash as well. It's as if they got it. If it was robbed before they took the coins out, that means it was still in the property of the.
So who was responsible?
Yeah. So then they would have. So it says he's got to swear either to the Gizborim or to the people. If it was still considered the people's, they have to replace it, and even if they find it, it doesn't count. They have to give two for that year. And it's interesting. These are Mishnayos and Shmuel. How that works, okay? Very fascinating, actually. But
Did it ever happen then? That they would
it must have. Otherwise, they wouldn't put a Mishnah up. So, okay. So therefore, that's our intro. Now, what does this have to do with Purim per se? It's always connected to the month of Adar. Well, technically speaking, because we've got basically 1 month until Rosh Chodesh Nisan, which will put us 2 weeks before Pesach, the beginning of the Shalosh Regalim, and we got to get the money in to do the karbanos for the year. It's the annual tax. But
also common, that.
what's that? Oh, yeah. So, but however, it's always linked to Adar. Now, the Shkolim of Adar appear in the Megillah in a very profound way. It says that Haman went to Achashverosh. It says the Pharaoh. He says, and I'll give 10,000, talents of silver in lieu of what? So that I should have which permission?
To kill the Jew.
Okay, fine. Now, what did those shkolim represent? So, if you look in the Gemara Megillah, they say the calculation equaled all of the shkolim that the Jewish people gave annually. So what he was saying is, I'm going to buy out the Jews. Kind of like trying to buy an election. I'm saying in New York, there's millionaires that are trying to become president, right? Billionaires. So I'll give you the money. Yeah, I'll give you the money, a Jew. Of course, we'll get to that in a minute. But Haman says, I'll buy them out. I'm a billionaire. I'll buy out the Jews. Who needs the Jews? But he was careful. He was afraid, Haman, that against him was the shkolim. What does that mean on a deeper level? If the Jews still care about the Beis Hamikdash. So let's go one step deeper. Who gave permission that the Jews should rebuild the second Beis Hamikdash? The first of the Persian kings, Cyrus the Great. He's still today considered the great Iranian thing, and by the way, the Shahs all saw themselves, which is why these fakers, who will eventually disappear, and they're going to restore the Shah one day, soon, because Hashem. Right now, Haman's in charge of Paras. Do you understand what's going on? Achashverosh is not in charge of Paras. He gave his ring over to Haman. That's what's happening. Okay? They've got it. And they want to lahashmin, they want to kill all the Jews. And everybody else for that matter. But that's the story. So what happened was they started to go back to Eretz Yisrael until Achashverosh became king. There was progress. And then all of a sudden Achashverosh and Haman rise to power. And the Bnei Haman were working in Eretz Yisrael as supervising on behalf of their father and their king, and they said, stop work order. That sounds familiar, right? Don't you dare build anything in Yerushalayim. Don't you dare touch anything in Yerushalayim. That was Haman's doing. And the undoing only took place when Mordechai took over, restored all that wealth to the Beis Hamikdash. All the money that Haman wanted to use to counteract the shkolim ended up being shkolim. Do you understand? What happened here? That was turned over to Mordechai, and Chazal tell us that he used that money to fund the early development of the Beit HaMikdash and certainly the return. Okay?
Wasn't it?
That was after. It was the son, according to our traditions, it was Esther's son. Very interesting, similar idea that you have children of the king who are Jewish, right? But the original king was not Jewish. We see things all the time. So that's the only difference between Bernie Sanders and President Trump. One has Jewish children, one doesn't. One paid for a bris and one didn't. As we say in Purim. That's really what's going on. So, okay. So now that we've established that Shkolim and Purim are integrally connected, let's go a little deeper. Why? Because Haman was saying to Achashverosh, and Achashverosh is always interchanged with who? When we say Hamelech, who are we really talking about?
Hashem.
We're talking about Hashem. Do the Jews still care about the Beis Hamikdash? Do they still want to be the Am Segula, Mamlechet Kohanim V'Goy Kadosh, or not? Or are they resigned to be some nationality which will keep their religion but no longer return to that level where they can be really the dominating force in the world and Hashem's force in the world? Yes or no? Or have they resigned to the fact that that era has come and gone, and now it's passed over to other monarchies? to pick up from there, and the Jewish people are essentially a relic. A relic.
Well, this happened after that Mishkan, when they were like enjoying themselves, so they and they used the caving from the base.
Okay, exactly. So the Chazal described the problem this way. They say the Jews had accepted the fact that Achashverosh and Haman were in charge, and there was nothing they could do about it, and everybody was willing to bow down to them and do whatever, and come to the Mishnah, just give us kosher food. We'll observe our ordinances that we were given by Hashem, but we no longer seek the monarchy. Wow. That also sounds familiar, right? Just leave us alone and let us be Jewish, as much as we care to be Jewish. But the inyan of Eretz Yisrael and the Beis HaMikdash, no, not relevant to us anymore.
It sounds true.
Yeah, and you can understand where they were coming from, my goodness. They were in a devastating state. They were in the 70 years of Gullus. The Beis HaMikdash, the first Beis HaMikdash stood for over 410 years, and before that, Klal Yisrael had been in Eretz Yisrael under the Shoftim and under Yeshua for another 480 years. There was no reality in the world of a non-Beis HaMikdash or a non-Mishkan. It never had not existed. Go one step further. What does Achashverosh try to sit on? But he can't. At the very beginning of the first
Shlomo's throne.
No. What was the purpose of Shlomo's throne? What was the purpose of it? What did it have? It was Malchus, but what type of Malchus?
It was a
Didn't
world.
things come alive?
The animals came alive, right? So it's representing the entire world, right? And his mastery over all the elements of the world. And what was his main job? He asked for Leiv Lishmoa, a listening heart to bring the word of God to the people and to bring din. Din, emes, and shalom, the three things that on the world, which on the world stand, according to the second of the two Mishnayos in Pirkei Avos. And hold on to that for a second. So Shlomo represents the ultimate Malchus. He also represents the Beis HaMikdash, because he was the one that built it. So when Achashverosh wants to sit on the throne of Shlomo, it's a lot more than having a nice throne with birds and lions that lift you up and carry you and it was like one of these. It was actually like an early machine. You could look at it as magic. You could also look at it as a machine that literally set a cycle into motion to where eventually a giant golden crown was brought down to his head, and he sat there, and they were in awe of his Chachmas HaTorah. It was the rule of Torah. Torah ruled the world. The world was in its ideal state. When Achashverosh says, now the world is an ideal state because I'm sitting on the throne, who's tried it before? Nebuchadnezzar tried it earlier. That was a terrible failure. So Achashverosh decided, I can't get the original one here. I'm just going to have to build a replica, a replacement. Okay? And even that wasn't so successful. The Jewish people see all this. They see Achashverosh sitting in his big day Malchus, which is that he is the anti-Shlomo HaMelech. He's the anti-Mashiach, right? And they what? And they drink and get their fill. What does that say to Hashem? Why is Hashem so upset? You have to ask yourself, okay, so they had a glass of Cabernet.
But don't enjoy
Azma, you want to destroy the whole Jewish people over L'chaim, over Kedem grape juice?
Don't enjoy it.
But even so, what's the big deal? They ate kosher.
It's a big deal.
Enjoy it.
It's a big deal. It's like
They were no longer in a love relationship with Hashem.
they were no longer.
They
In
strayed.
a love relationship.
It was literally an act of adultery.
Whoa.
Literally an act of adultery, which, by the way, was pretty debauched, the whole ongoing, as far as we know. And certainly Achashverosh was no, how shall I say, Puritan. So it was the lowest of eros, the lowest
180 days.
of debauchery, utter debauchery, and the people in Shushan came back after that.
No, they.
If they came back for more after 180 days, their hearts were no longer with Hashem. Maybe they were doing things. It doesn't mean they didn't have Torah, but the love affair with Hashem was gone. And if your holy vows of matrimony, which took place on Har Sinai were so violated. Where else were they very, very violated the first time?
The Egel
The Egel Hazav. That was the first violation, right after Matan Torah. And now we have the second huge violation in Golus, when the Beis Hamikdash was actually on its way back. It was literally on its way back. It was on a pause for a few years. And now Hashem says, I don't have anybody. Who do I have? I have nobody. I wanted to speculate and say, we know that Mordechai went out into the street and did what? What did he do?
He got the little kids together
No, what did he do according to Megillah? Not according to the Medrash. According to Megillah, what does he do?
he gathered up.
He doesn't bow, right? He's faithful, no matter what, to death. He would have been killed, so that's okay. Because our rayos are Yaacov Yavor anyway. So, and the other thing he does is when he hears the news about the Gzera, what does he physically do? He runs to the street in sackcloth and cries in the street. Emotion, passion, which is what was absent for Klal Yisrael. I just heard this word from Rabbi Kimchi at the bris, so I'll say it over like this. He said, what's the most famous pasuk in the Megillah? You say, La Yehudim Haisa, Ora v'Simcha, v'Sasa v'Yikar. Now, what does that each one mean? Oira is Torah, right? Simcha is Yom Tov. Sason, Bris Milah, right? Yikar, Tefillin. So he said, what do you mean? They didn't have those things already. They didn't keep Shabbos. They didn't wear tefillin. They probably did. He said, but they didn't have the simcha of Yom Tov, and they didn't have the joy of Milah and what it means to bring somebody into the holiness of the bris of Amin. They didn't have the sason. They were missing the heart.
Like in Devarim it says, that's why Hashem has been punished.
Exactly.
Who didn't do it.
So who was missing from the Zahav, Kesef, and the Choshes? Which one had disappeared? The Kisufim. The Kesef was gone. The Shkolim were gone. In other words, Haman is stealing the hearts. Essentially, the Kisufim of Klal Yisrael. He says, now they're mine. They're mine to do with them as I please. Because I've broken up the Shidduch between Zahav and Kesef. I've broken up the Shidduch between Adam and Chava, between Hashem and the Jewish people. And he did. And who else did that originally? The Nachash. And that's when he turned sour. The Nachash, when he is not serving Adam, but betraying Adam. And what's the word? More than betraying. What's the key word? Like boged. Rebelling against? I don't know.
Corrupting.
More than that. It's like he's stabbing him in the back. He's not. What's the opposite of complete service? Is treachery. He's dealing treacherously with him. And that's what Haman played the role of the Nachash at that point. As all Amalek does. All Amalek is